Go, 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 go.
3, 2, 1, 4 tires.
Still there, inside.
What a jump! What a jump!
The track is wet. It's good.
Still there, clear.
3, 2, 1. Green flag, green flag.
Hey everyone, Dom Capilupo, Jackson, New Jersey.
Sam Dooley, Troy, Alabama.
Steve Ray, Twin Cities, Minnesota.
And Wesley Riddle, Raleigh, North Carolina.
And welcome back, everyone. Another episode of the Foreign Field Podcast, post Indianapolis Road Course. A surprising weekend, to say the least. I don't know about you guys, but I had a good week. I enjoyed the racing. How about you guys, though?
I did. I enjoyed it. I thought it was a good race. It was nice to see the race play out naturally. It's something that we haven't seen over the last number of years with the stage cautions. And I thought overall it was a good race. It really showed kind of what we were used to seeing back in the day as to who can take care of their car throughout the whole race, who can put together a complete race. And that's what we saw. And I thought it was a great race.
Yeah, I enjoyed the weekend as well. It was solid racing. Same thing Steve was talking about. It's so nice to have like an actual motorsport event in NASCAR, like where there's not manufactured cautions and everything. I know why they do it. You know, you got to keep the excitement up and everything, but it's really nice. Almost caution-free race, other than unfortunately Joey Logano being a little silly on lap 2.
Silly.
Okay, I get it.
That man cannot race Indy Road Course.
I don't know. It's every other road course he's fine, and then Indy, it's just like I don't know. But
Poor Ryan Blaney might have a concussion after the just pounding he took in turn 1 on the restart.
But yeah, it was nice to have a nice long race with like seeing green flag pit stops is amazing. I really like having stages that don't cause cautions. It's awesome to see strategy play out like that.
I think we'll talk about it a little bit later too. I think Steve's going to go into a little bit more depth there. But like you all mentioned, it's nice to have a race actually play out where it's not caution packed, right? That puts on a great racing product. I didn't get to watch the race, so I don't know. I wasn't able to interpret it from start to finish like so many other people. But I always have found joy in watching races that do have strategy. And I also think that this Indy Road Course race, at least this one in particular, played off the most clean that it had been in the past versus last year and the year before. It seemed like that this was, the cleanest product and the best display of racing we've seen on a road course, not only at Indy, but I think in a long time. And I think that showed, definitely what NASCAR's been capable of and the improvements they made with this car, but also just the driving product that was on display earlier this year, but we're seeing it, them definitely have a lot more control. And it's just, I feel like the cleaner product that we have, the better racing and the more visually appealing it is to fans, even if it's not packed with cautions.
I will say we do have to acknowledge the fact that I think all of us were wrong when we were talking about the new restart zone. It helped. It helped a lot. It was not as crazy going into turn 1, so it helped keep that more of a clean race. So last week we were making fun of the new restart zone and like, oh, that's not going to work out. It worked out, and it worked out well. So
It was
I think
also
that was a good thing.
They used it 2 times, and it was on like lap 4.
But if you look at like the Xfinity race too, the Xfinity race, it was a lot cleaner going into turn 1 because of the new restart zone and everything. So I will give NASCAR their props where it's due. They did their due diligence, and that was a good spot to restart in.
Well, we were a Joey Logano away from having a caution-free race for the first time since 2002. No restart zone is going to calm Joey Logano down in the turn 1. So anyway, you look at it, maybe the restart zone wasn't the problem. Maybe it was just Joey Logano going 7 lanes to the bottom.
Whatever makes you sleep at night, Dom.
Got to take advantage of these really bad Joey Logano races while we can.
Joey Logano sees a hole this big, and he's going to take it.
Hey, man, you got to do what you got to do. All the cars are equal.
birthday. He's been very irrelevant since his win earlier this year, and really even then, did he really do much to win the race?
Listen, playoff Joey exists. I believe. I know that playoff Joey does in fact exist. So
That's
you
it.
guys can
That's
talk
it.
all you want. You can talk all you want. But let's see what happens when the playoffs start going down and Joey keeps moving on.
Say at this rate, Penske's going to be the third Ford team. I mean, RFK and now Front Row. I don't know. Front Row has got as many wins as Penske. They're about to have as many wins as Penske this year.
Talking heads. That's all I hear. Talking heads. Yeah.
Well, anyways, let's move into our money stop of the week. We're going to reverse the order a little bit this week. So, Britt, I'm going to hand it right back to you. What's your money stop this week?
Well, my money stop was Michael McDowell winning this race. All right. So I first of all, look at the hat, right? 95 car. But yeah, McDowell, he was cooking this weekend. I won't say I expected him to win, but I expected him to do well. And as a team, they did enough, right, to keep him up there and keep him in contention. And the guy led 54 laps of a possible, 82 laps. So he dominated. He really did. He had the fastest car. He was the best driver this weekend. And there was a group chat I was in, and they were saying Michael McDowell won because they're a little bit casual NASCAR fans and stuff, and they were like, "Wow, Michael McDowell won." And I was like, I kind of expected it. Like I'm not gonna say I fully expected it because anytime that the 34 car wins, it's not like a guarantee, right? But he was cooking. Like I know Michael McDowell is a great road course driver, combined with the fact that he had the fastest car. This weekend, give or take. I know Suarez had a really fast car and got messed up later in the race. But yeah, McDowell, I'm not really shocked that he won. I've said it before. He's a really good driver, and before I even wouldn't be shocked that he won at one of the road courses. And this is one that's really suited to his style because he really knows what he's doing. So yeah, Michael McDowell and his dominance is my money stop of the week, just because that team in general finally put one together at a road course, and that's where Michael is at his best.
I'm going to follow up there. I'm going to take it a little bit away from the twists and turns we saw in Indy and actually head to the dirt track up at Eldora, where Tony Stewart had a pretty dominant race when he won the SRX race on Thursday night. Of course, he owns the track. Leah Pruitt actually did, I think, the Gentleman Starter engine. So it was kind of a really good event for him. Everything kind of played to his liking. Obviously, he hasn't had a great year when it comes to SRX this year compared to last or the year before, in which he won the championship. But a dominant display there. Haley Deegan and Ryan Newman were pretty quick. I think Austin Dillon and Chase Briscoe would have been two to contend, but we saw Austin have a line break, and I guess it caused the biggest crash in SRX history. I mean, it tore up. Yeah, it tore up Marco, Tony Kanaan, and then Haley was in the wreck too, but she went to the backup. Same with Marco. It was a pretty crazy wreck, and the racing was pretty good aside from that, but Tony Stewart pretty much put on a masterclass on the field. And of course, Eldora has been a track he's been dominant at for so long. So it was cool to see just a special event for him to where, he was able to win in front of a lot of people that were there to support him. So good on Tony Stewart. And we're going to have the final SRX race, I guess, coming up this week. I think it'll be out the day of, or maybe the day before the race on Thursday night. So we'll see here on the podcast. I don't know when the timing will be, but they're going to finish up their season, and it should be a good showing. So that's my money stop of the week.
Yeah, it's incredible of how much better the SRX racing has been without Paul Tracy in there. That dude should have never came back for the second or third season.
It was a little funny that the biggest wreck didn't even have Paul Tracy.
I know, it wasn't even with it. Didn't even have him.
You think it would. You think it would.
Yeah, poor
you can
guy.
take
I
Paul
hope he's doing
Tracy.
okay.
You can take Paul Tracy out of SRX, but you cannot take him truly in spirit out of SRX. My money stop of the week going back to Indy has been all the buzz of next year when they come out with the NASCAR schedule. Should they keep the road course at Indy or should they go back to the oval? This next year, they're going back to the 30th anniversary of the Brickyard 400, the first year that NASCAR was there. I keep going back and forth. Like, do we want to see the road course? Because that hasn't been the worst road course race that we've seen, and it's really puts on. We've only had 3 races to base our opinions off of, but they've all been pretty good. Whereas the last couple of years of the oval, granted, I think a lot of that had to do with the package that they're racing, and of course, different cars. So I would be curious to see if they did go back to the oval next year of how well, this car could race on there, especially if you have like a high drafting package. It all depends. And I think you look at Twitter a lot and people are saying, oh, there's so few people there. Well, that Indianapolis is so big and holds like 300,000 people. So I know this week they were talking about 70,000 people there, which is a lot. So I would be curious to see if they do go back to the Oval. I just want people to make up their minds. Like the last couple of years that we had at the Oval, you didn't want to be there anymore. You said, let's go to this road course. And now that we've run the road course for a couple of years, now we say we want to go back to the Oval. So no matter what NASCAR does, half of the people are going to be happy, half the people are going to be unhappy. I just want them to make a decision and stick to it. But props to NASCAR for trying new things because that was a dying product. The Brickyard 400 had lost its luster that we had known for so long. So props to NASCAR for trying new things, and hopefully during their tire test these couple days here, they can come up with something good and not have a 2008 race all over again where we need a caution every 10 laps. And then, if we do go back to the Oval next year, hopefully it puts on a good race. So that's my money stop of the week. Dom, what do you got?
I'll just follow up on what you said real quick. Goodyear's not going to let that happen again. If anything, they're going to build tires that you could run from lap 1 to lap 160 next year.
Yes. Just don't let Tony Stewart drive them because he will rip Goodyear apart.
Yeah, they're being too cautious right now with the tire. And if they can get a tire that is softer, that wears out more as opposed to just heats up, I think it could help with the racing that the car is lacking right now. Because when the tires don't fall off, it's just qualifying laps. And you get out front, no one's going to touch you. Now, my money stop is, again, I hate just just going on pit road again. But Daniel Suarez in that 99 team, such a simple pit stop. I mean, that's another one like last week. Reddick's team didn't need to do anything crazy. All they were going to have to wait on fuel anyway. Same thing here with the 99 team. They were waiting on fuel, not the tires. And they managed to go a near 20-second pit stop. It's such basic things. And I know this one's a little less egregious as the Reddick one, because the Reddick one was a lug nut that they should have just taken care of while they had it right there. This one, the hose got stuck underneath the car. So that's a little different. But still, mistakes you can't make, and that really ultimately could cost Daniel Suarez a shot at the playoffs this year, because I think he had a car for McDowell at the end of that race. I think he was a little better than Chase, and Suarez at the end, you know how aggressive he'll get. So it could have been a real fight there at the end. And those two have had history before. Don't forget about that. At Phoenix in qualifying, they had a little kerfluffle. So,
and I think it carried over too to Watkins Glen. I think, or I'm sorry, Sonoma. I think it was the year after. Something on like the white flag. Those two were beating and banging. So you're right. I mean, they do have a history. It would have made for something exciting, but it was cool to see it come down to those two at the end. So
yeah, those are two nice guys in the garage, but you get them.
Throw hands.
They will throw down. So you don't want to mess with those two guys, especially Michael McDowell. Michael McDowell has shown his displeasure with people, and he's not afraid to do it. as we saw in the All-Star race with Ty Gibbs this year in the Open. Anyways, let's break down Indianapolis a little more. Obviously, Michael McDowell, second career Cup win, gets him into the playoffs after battling Daniel Suarez and Chase Elliott. Now, Wes, I just want to ask you, do you think McDowell staying at front row is going to be better for him here moving on, as opposed to potentially going into that 10 car as he was rumored to be?
That's a great question. I feel like that Michael McDowell would be a great fit for the 10 in terms of building the team back up to being a potential, playoff threat, because it's all comes down to his dependency and his loyalty, because we've seen what he's been able to do with front row, right? I mean, he's took nothing. A pretty small team, right? I mean, they were finishing in the 30s every week, and he stayed with them, and the consistency, and they've gotten better, and there's been better communication. And he's been the one of the key factors. He's still there, a lot of changing in leadership and changing in crew. But he's been there, and we've seen with him incredible improvement to where he was 5 years ago. And we saw that when he was with Levine. I mean, the same thing when he first started with Levine, they were not competitive. And then he turned the team into something really competitive until he left. So McDowell, I think, would be a great fit for Stewart-Haas in the sense of improving that team. But I feel like for him, it comes down to the loyalty he has built with front row, as well as the leadership in the position that he's in, because he is being a leader for Todd Gilliland. Zane Smith, when he comes in and races in the car, he was doing the same thing for Matt Tifft when Tifft raced. He's a very, very good leader, and you can see it with the words that he's. So I think the position he's in at front row is probably where he wants to be, and I think that would be the best place for him. If he changed, I think he would still do great things, but at the same time, you got to look at Josh Berry, you've got to look at Chase Briscoe. I think they're going to be okay, but at the same time, they're going to have improvements that they're going to have to work on. But I think Michael McDowell right now is in the place that he needs to be.
I will say, along Michael McDowell, also you got to think about, he's been racing in Cup for 15 years now. He started in that 00 car in 08, I believe. So he's at a stage in his career now where it's a lot about keeping constants. And at this point, I don't think he wants to build another team up, because Wes was right. Wes was right when he was talking about he's helped build front row into now they're competing for wins at these tracks, and the way that he's helped build that organization. And with Stewart-Haas, he'd have to go back and basically start at ground zero and do that again. And he's in his, mid to late 30s now, or somewhere around there. If I'm at that age and I'm 15 years into my Cup career, I've got something solid right here that may not have the ceiling that SHR has with sponsorship and stuff like that. But I've got something that I know is going to be consistent, and I've built this thing up to where I'm at. And I understand why at this stage in your career you would want to stay somewhere that has proven that they will give you cars that can win on multiple weeks throughout the season, as opposed to an SHR that can have 30th place finishes multiple weeks throughout the weekend or throughout the season.
I would be willing to bet too that if he did go to SHR, whoever replaced him in the 34 would be outrunning McDowell in the SHR car. It is incredible as to how slow those Stewart-Haas cars are. I mean, Eric Almirola, only 2 top 10s on the year. Ryan Preece, only 1 top 10 on the year. I can literally go into every race weekend, and Kevin Harvick is considered an underdog. The guy who is in his final NASCAR season is an underdog every single week because of how slow those cars are. Now, Harvick is the only one that's had some kind of speed this year, but this week at Indy, he was completely irrelevant, was never in the question at any point during the race. So I think it's a good move for McDowell. Now, I think part of it's the team, had an option on him to keep him. I think it's also part of McDowell. He wants to stay there. Good for Todd Gilliland too. I know we talked on this last week, but having him come back, it's only going to help both of those teams moving forward. So I think it was really good for McDowell to stay with front row.
McDowell has as many top 10s as Chase Briscoe does with 6. And then he has 3 more than Almirola and Priest combined. So if that
It's
just
pretty.
doesn't tell you the story
Yeah,
right there.
I was just going to add too. We talked about. I think Michael McDowell has the best average finish when it comes to road courses since the. I think he was saying since the new car. I don't know if that's the right metric there, but I mean,
It's
it
very
shows you
possible.
it shows what Michael McDowell's been capable of. You know.
And even too, like what Bert was talking on earlier, when we were going into Indy Road Course and thinking, okay, who's going to have a good run, and Michael McDowell's name get brought up, it's not like so outlandish anymore to think about Michael McDowell winning. Like it's almost, I don't want to say it's expected, that's the wrong word to use, but it's not shocking if he goes out and has a top 5 run or goes out like this weekend and wins. Same with this week,
I mean, I will say I expect him. I expect him to be in the top 5 every road course that we go to. That may be me being crazy, but it's he's shown the track record, especially in the next gen car. He's just shown the track record of I expect Michael McDowell to be competing for a win every time that we go to some sort of road course. Anytime that we turn left and right, I expect McDowell to be in the top 5. And if he's having a bad day, maybe in the top 10. But like he has shown himself to be up there all the time.
Absolutely. Now, another couple guys that ran up front that have been a little off lately, the 9 and the 48, both in the top 5 this week. First time we've seen Bowman up there and stay up there all race in a while. And same for Chase. We haven't seen Chase Elliott run like this really all season. So it's got to be refreshing for the Hendrick fans to see those 2 cars up front the majority of the race. And now those 2 did really well, came in 40-something points out, and they get reported by getting bumped to 80 points out. So putting those 2 guys in must-win situations, Steve, what do you think? How realistic is it for one of those guys to make it, if not both?
It is realistic for one of them to make the playoffs. I don't know if you can read that or if it's backwards. That was me at the end of Indy, seeing Chase Elliott make up all that time and being so close to getting himself in the playoffs. It's realistic for one of them, not both of them. Now, there's a scenario where I'm going to throw a hypothetical out here. Chase Elliott goes out and wins Watkins Glen. Okay, well, now you have 3 of the 400 cars. They could all help Alex Bowman win Daytona. Hypothetical, I'm not saying that that's really realistic of that happening, but it is, I guess, still possible. I would say if one of the 2 were to make it, it'd be Chase. I just don't see the last couple of weeks. I mean, Alex Bowman's been doing good, but I just don't see him winning Watkins Glen, and you never know what's going to happen at Daytona. He never has a good track record there, so I would say realistically, I don't think either one of them makes it, but if they were, only one of them is going to do it, and it's going to be Chase Elliott.
Now, Britt, with all this happening now, Bubba Wallace has moved to the bubble. All he did was run 18th, and really his gap fell from 58, I believe, to 28. How are you feeling if you're Bubba Wallace, and do you think Daniel Suarez has a real shot at passing him in points before the playoffs if we consider there not being a new winner outside of the top 16?
I think Daniel Suarez has a huge shot because we're going to a road course. Daniel Suarez is kind of like McDowell, and his track record is very good at road courses. Think about who you think of when you're like, oh, we got a road course this weekend. There's the 99 car is someone that you throw in there as like a top 5 car, top 10 car that's going to be up there. He did it this week, right? Absent of his terrible pit stop, he could have had a chance at a win. So I wouldn't be surprised if Daniel Suarez did pass Bubba. The thing is, there's 2 races left. There's not just one. So first of all, Bubba's got a 28-point cushion. I'm still sticking with what I said before. Stay top 15, stay top 20 if you're Bubba. Even if Daniel Suarez gets a top 5 or so, the way that the points work out, you'll be really close. And then you go into the biggest crapshoot on the schedule, which is Daytona being the last race before the playoffs. And you've got to play the points right if you're Bubba. You've got to play your strategy right. You've got to do everything. But the thing is, I need Bubba, personally speaking, as someone who is a fan of Bubba Wallace, my fellow Alabamian, right? He's got to perform at least okay at Watkins Glen this week. The same way that he did at Indy. I know 18th is not what we expect out of that 23 car, but Bubba has been historically a very bad road course driver, and we knew this, right? So at 18th, if you can give me a 15th at Watkins Glen and see what Daniel Suarez does, and you can keep it where we're still above the cut line, I think going into Daytona, Bubba is a really good super speedway driver. I cannot stress that enough. He's got the win at Talladega. I know it was a rain shortened race, but he was up there. He's up there. He's someone that you think of as being up there at the end. The problem is he does take himself out a lot close to the end because he throws a lot of late blocks. I will say it. I've got a type of driver that I root for, and it's Joey Logano with his late blocks, and it's Bubba Wallace with his late blocks. And it happens. But he's someone that you expect to be up there. And so if you can keep the gap where you're still in the positive to the playoff line and you're not racing out of desperation going into Daytona, I can totally see Bubba still making it. Now, having McDowell win makes it a lot more difficult of a road to get there, but I still think Bubba has the ability to make it. It's just executing at Watkins Glen, team top down, executing. Him, obviously, he's probably not going to be the fastest car there, but get a top 15 and you'll be sitting pretty well with the 28-point cushion you have on Suarez right now. Just get there, get through Watkins Glen, and then Daytona is where we've got our sights set if I'm Bubba Wallace right now.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Obviously, something to watch. All of the Glen, that all changes if Chase Elliott or Alex Bowman goes on to win the race. Then Bubba is put into a must-win at Daytona, which isn't completely impossible, but definitely not ideal for the 23 team. Now, I want to talk about the road course ringers this week. They didn't do as well as maybe some people had expected after the win by SVG at Chicago. SVG did run 10th, which is really good in another one-off race. That is really impressive, especially for a track that the Cup guys have run at the past 2 years. Seeing this from SVG definitely, I feel like, solidifies his plans next year to have a program to run NASCAR all season next year, albeit not full-time in the Cup Series, but you're going to see SVG in all 3 of the top series, gaining that experience on the ovals to maybe work his way up to the Cup Series full-time in the next few years, kind of like a Marcus Ambrose kind of deal. He finished 10th. Probably could have done a little bit better if the car was a little more to his handling and if there was maybe another caution or two. Obviously, he had no problem getting aggressive. He spun Ty Gibbs out in turn 1 on that restart, which ultimately really puts Ty Gibbs now almost in a must-win situation. That was almost overlooked over everything. If you looked at the stat, he was like 20, I think, points to the good or something like that, and he fell to like 49 out. So a huge loss for Ty Gibbs this week. But he's another one that could go to Watkins Glen and potentially win that race, as he's a very good road course driver. Other notables, road course ringers, Brody Kostecki, 22nd. He's kind of where he was. He did have to start at the back in a backup car. So not too bad, considering most of the race was under green. Rockefeller 24th. I honestly, that surprised me when I saw the results. He was in like 35th all day. I know Steve's got something to say about that team.
Yeah, I was going back and forth. This should be my money stop of the week as to how, like, Eric Jones has a special place in my heart. Like, there'll always be a little piece of me that roots for Eric Jones, and it is incredible as to how bad Legacy is. I could probably talk about this every week with how bad they are, because for them to even get a top 20 feels like a win. And this was a team that won the Southern 500 last year. So I think with them going to Toyota and Chevrolet pulling all of their manufacturer help away, it doesn't help at all. So hopefully with Toyota they get some better help. But I was right there with you when I saw Rockefeller finish 24th. I was like, he was 38th all day. So did 14 cars crash? Is kind of where I felt at the end of the race.
Yeah, just moving on. You got Jensen Button 28th. He got spun out by Ricky Stenhouse. Also did Kobayashi. He got spun out by Stenhouse. He was not very happy.
Ricky
I guess, with the
Spinhouse was out
foreigner-
in full
the
force.
foreigners. He was not happy with them.
Yeah. I loved
Ricky
all those
Spinhouse was-
memes on Twitter. Ricky Stenhouse is defending America today.
Yeah. And then obviously Andy Lally in the 51. He finished 30th. Not his best showing, but Wes, you did say that last week. He is a little past his prime, so probably not. There probably wasn't high expectations for him anyway. Just, getting another road course guy into that car, maybe just to see where their road course program is, as opposed to putting Cole in the car again, or Ryan Newman.
I will say we kind of got spoiled at Chicago because it was so new to everybody. And then SVG went out. He kind of put the roadmap together and figured out what to do before everyone else did, because he's been in that type of situation before. We got a little spoiled and expected more from the road course ringers, which SVG, he killed it. He got a top 10. And that's all you can really expect from a track that we're going back to. And these Cup drivers know what they're doing now. So I will say we probably did get a little bit spoiled from SVG winning at Chicago and expected a little bit more. This is about what normally someone the people that are having their first starts in a Cup car, this is about what you would expect from a ringer, unless they've had starts before in the Cup Series.
Absolutely. Now, this week, we don't have many road course ringers. You're not getting the Kobayashis or the SVGs or the Rockefeller. Well, you got Rockefeller, but you're not having the Kasekis. I think Andy Lally's racing again. Rockefeller's in again. And really, that's the extent to the road course ringers this week. Now, with Watkins Glen coming up, last year, Kyle Larson won. 2 years in a row, Kyle Larson has won. Ever since he's gone to Hendrick, he is undefeated at the Glen. So it means race picks this week. Steve picking AJ Allmendinger last week, meaning you get to go first again this week.
Yeah, thank you, Ryan Blaney, for completely destroying my hopes and dreams. Well, I will start with this. Kyle Larson is not going to win 3 times in a row at the Glen. In fact, Chase Elliott, I'll put it this way, Hendrick is not going to win at Watkins Glen.
As much as I would, he's not picking Chase Elliott.
No, I really thought about it. I don't see it happening. I think Chase Elliott finishes top 5. I think it's a good run for the 9 car, but I don't think it's a winning strategy. I was actually going to go with Denny Hamlin, who has won a few times at Watkins Glen. I think it's going to come down to strategy, and he won stage 2 at Indy. I think something magical is going to happen, and I'm going to take a shot in the dark, and I'm going to take Denny Hamlin.
Steve, you just know that because you're saying it, it means he's going to finish 30th, and you're doing that in spite of Dom. And I respect that. I respect that like hell. I respect it.
Here's the problem, though. If you pick Denny Hamlin right here, you can't use him again the rest of the season.
Well, he sucks, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Well, don't be crying when they go to Martinsville or
Yeah,
Darlington
and he gets spun out.
and he
says,
can't
"Yeah,
get
you
picked.
attack
Mm.
racing."
All right, well, Denny Hamlin at Watkins Glen. I don't know about that one, but on to Wes. Wes, who's winning this week? I know it's got to be something better than Denny Hamlin.
Well, I guess I'm in a weird spot. I thought Chris Buescher, he had a okay day, it seemed like, but it seemed like he got better as the day went on. But it sounded like he just never had the track position. Like I said, I didn't get a chance to watch the race from the beginning to end. Kind of only saw the highlights here and there. So Buescher had a decent day. Didn't get the top 10. The streak is done. He'll restart one. I have full faith he will, starting at Watkins Glen. I don't think he's going to win. I think Michael McDowell has a good shot to go back to back. He's not going to be my pick. Thought about picking Daniel Suarez. I think Suarez is going to be competitive. I also thought about AJ Allmendinger, but I'll tell you what, those two in high pressure situations, they tend to make mistakes. And it's going to be really hard to want to pick either of those two because they are so aggressive. And I'm worried that they are going to make a mistake this week that's going to cost them a shot, even though they're going to be up front and competitive. So I'm going to pick the guy that, is needing to get a win, needing to get in. He's won there twice before. I'm going to pick Chase Elliott.
I like it.
You might
I
as
like
well. I mean, if
He
he's not
should
going
be
to,
the
if he's
consensus
not going
first
to,
overall pick.
if he doesn't win the playoff, if he doesn't make it in the playoffs, there's not going to be a reason I'm going to pick him later on. So this is the best time to pick him, right? It's a must-win situation. I feel like he's got the experience. He's got the championship. He's got the, I know things didn't work out earlier this season. I know he's been, kind of beating himself up quite a bit, just, with the mistakes that he's made in the team. But I really think that if he can put a race together, it's going to be this week.
You know that Steve, you only did not pick Chase Elliott, either one, because you do not want Dom to be happy this weekend, or two, you're trying to hide your bias. And hiding your bias everywhere else is fine, but Watkins Glen is Chase Elliott's track, so he should be the first overall pick. I don't know.
it
That's
was a little
silly.
It was a little bit of both. I'm trying to pull. I could be setting myself up for the first pick at Daytona too by just throwing a random guy out like
What are
Yeah,
you
and
gonna
then
do
a
with the
random
first
will
pick
win.
at Daytona? Well,
Anyone can win at Daytona, so it's like I don't know how great that strategy is, but bold
Listen,
strategy, Cotton. Let's see
let
how
me
it
live
goes.
my strategy here. Let me live it.
Okay.
You can yell at me later.
well, the guy that needs to win, flat, simple, straight and simple, Daniel Suarez is winning this week. He's going to be in the playoffs. He's going to avenge that pit stop from last week, and he's going to go out there and put a classic whipping on the field at Watkins Glen. He's going to win both stages and the race. Shoe it in. Daniel Suarez in the 99 gets Trackhouse. Both cars in the playoffs.
Interesting pick, and I like that I have the entire rest of the field to pick from. All right. So since I have the final pick because I was so smart as to take Tyler Reddick, who ended up finishing 4th this week with his own struggles, which we won't talk about. But I think that my pick for this weekend, we've talked about him a bunch this week because he won this past weekend. I'm going to take Michael McDowell to double up at Watkins Glen because honestly, he's the next best choice to who everyone else has picked. And so while I think it's highly unlikely, it's really hard to go back-to-back winners. We saw that in the fact that we had our first back-to-back winner in forever with Chris Buescher. So I think Michael McDowell will at least put in a really good run because, like I said, I went on and on about how good of a road course racer he is. And this is a track that we've been going to for ever, basically. And it's a track that Michael McDowell is used to and he knows because he has a lot of reps in it. So I think that 34 car will put it back up front and go back to back on the back-to-back road courses.
Interesting. Well, that's all we have for Watkins Glen this week, but the show is not over. This week, we're going to introduce some NASCAR trivia on the Foreign Field podcast. We're going to test these guys' knowledge. I've got a game for them. Basically, here I have 18 drivers on this list. All are Watkins Glen pole sitters since 1995.
Oh boy.
And you guys are going to take turns naming the drivers. If you get one wrong, you get a strike. You get 3 strikes, you're out of the game. Last one standing is your champion this week. So, Wes, you're going to go first. Steve's going second, and Britt's going third. Wes, give me a driver.
I'm a little worried, but we'll take an easy one to start. We'll take old Jeff Gordon.
Jeff Gordon is correct. 1998, 2003, and 2014.
I'll take the
Steve,
other easy one. I'll take Tony Stewart.
Tony Stewart, 2005.
I don't, like I said earlier, I don't remember what I had for lunch today, so I don't think I can remember who was on the poll at any of these. I'm gonna throw a guess out there. Chase Elliott. Did he ever do it?
Chase Elliott, 2019 and 2022.
Yes.
Back to Wes.
I feel like I could pick some current guys, but I'm trying to go old school just to make it fun. Probably not Mark Martin.
Mark Martin, 1995.
Nice. I'm going to go Marcus Ambrose.
Marcus Ambrose, 2013.
Okay, shot in the dark. Brad Keselowski.
Brad Keselowski, not on the list. That's 1 strike for Britt. On to Wes.
This is a dumb pick, but we're gonna go for it. I thought maybe he did Robbie Gordon.
Robbie Gordon, not on the list.
Oh.
1 strike for Wes.
AJ Allmendinger.
AJ Allmendinger, 2015 pole sitter.
Okay, I'm thinking Kyle Busch.
Kyle Busch, 2011 and 2017.
We'll go Juan Pablo.
Juan Pablo Montoya, 2012.
Oh boy. This is getting tough now.
Steve's still in the catbird seat with no strikes.
Let me throw Joey Logano out there.
Joey Logano has never sat on the pole.
Ooh.
So Steve with a strike.
I'm going to throw it out there because he's one of the greatest NASCAR drivers of all time, Dale Earnhardt.
Dale Earnhardt, 1996 pole sitter at the Glen. And this does not include rainouts or they had to have qualified. So these are all based off of qualifying speeds.
We're running into trouble. Let's be real. We're running into some.
I will say there are a few guys that I think you should get. There's a couple you might not. They're all drivers you know. There is one more active driver on the list.
I would like to guess Bobby Labonte.
Bobby Labonte is not on the list. 2 strikes for Wes.
I'm going to say, just because I randomly remember the 2006 race, Kevin Harvick.
Kevin Harvick did not start on the pole at the Glen. 2 strikes for Steve. Britt, you get one right here. You are in the catbird seat.
Okay, I'm trying to think. Oh man, my memory's awful. But I think I'm gonna go with Steve's pick to win the race this weekend, Denny Hamlin.
Denny Hamlin, 2018 pole sitter. There is your last active driver.
I'll
say full-time active driver.
Jimmy Johnson.
Yeah, Jimmy Johnson, 2009.
That's always a good guess anywhere because he pretty much
Yeah.
sat on pole
I
or
for-
won everywhere.
Almost forgot he was a NASCAR driver.
Wes stays alive.
Man, I
Steve
know
is
some.
back against the wall.
Yeah, I just know people are just screaming at their screens right now. Man, I can't even think right now. I'm just going to throw Ryan Newman out there.
Ryan Newman, the Rocket Man, did not start on the pole
Figured.
at Watkins Glen. Steve
Well, he
has
had,
been eliminated.
He
Not
had
in
like
2002
22
or
polls.
3 or 4.
Yeah, he had like 22 polls that year. I thought Watkins Glen would be one of them.
That was a good guess.
So I'll give you the years that haven't been 97, 99, 2001, 2002, 2006, and then one guy did it in 2010 and 16.
Okay. So I think I remember this guy in the replays of NASCAR races that I've watched from before I was born and now into my younger years. I think I remember that Blue Deuce being up front at road courses a lot. I'm going to guess Rusty Wallace.
Rusty Wallace, 1999 pole sitter
Yes.
at Watkins Glen.
I'm kicking myself right now. Not guessing it.
Wes back up against the wall again.
There's one guy I want to go with, but he was so late in his career. I don't think he had a pole. I know he was really good at Watkins Glen. I'm not going to say it. I want to see if somebody else says it. I'm going to go out. There's only one other road course guy I can think of that I feel like definitely got a pole at Watkins Glen, but it might not have been between 90 and current. So I will happily go home on this. Ricky Rudd.
Ricky Rudd, your 2002 pole sitter. Back to Britt.
Okay, now I'm just racking my brain for people that were good at driving in general when I was younger. I feel like he had good qualifying speed a lot. Okay. The original 99 car, or at least in my mind, the original 99 car, Carl Edwards.
Man, he's just on it right now. 2010, 2016. All right, there's 3 guys left. There are 3 drivers left. You guys are
We're doing
taking
really good,
15
guys.
out here.
Doing great.
Okay.
1997, 2001, and 2006.
Am I next?
Yeah, you are.
Yes, you are.
I was trying to think, but at the same time, forgot. I'm going to
Pretend
pick
it
the
wasn't
guy.
your turn.
Right. I'm going to pick the guy I think was 1997. And I will go out on a limb. I think this might have been his last pole. Jeff Bodine.
Oh, I can't believe that. That is not correct.
I'll see you guys later. Have a good day.
Britt is the winner. Oh, I hate it because it was Todd Bodine who got the
Oh,
pole in
no.
1997.
Was it actually?
That's awful.
It was Todd
poor
Bodine
guy.
in 1997.
Man, I must have some Mandela effect or something.
Now, 01 and 06, any more guesses? Just throw them out.
01, was it Jeff Burton?
No, it's not Jeff Burton.
I think Kurt Busch grabbed one at some point.
Kurt Busch, 2006.
Hmm.
So
And 01.
2001.
Now I'm out. that's literally all I had. So
Did
you guys had to outlast me
no.
one more round.
He was a champion in the sport.
All right, Terry.
No, it's not Terry.
I don't know.
He was a Cup
Running
Series
low.
champion.
Cup champ.
Dale Jarrett.
Dale Jarrett.
Hey, look
Oh,
at
yeah.
2001.
Heard of that guy.
Yeah, I've heard of that guy before.
Is that the guy that drives the UPS truck?
Yeah, the number
Yeah.
44 UPS car.
Well, that was
Drive the
fun.
truck.
I think we might have to incorporate this every week. We might just have to have a rotation on the host. So whoever's going to host next week's going to come up with another list or a different game, whatever game you want to do. I think this will be a little fun to do at the end of each week. I know I had a lot of fun thinking of this list. You guys did really good. Almost got them all. I was getting a little worried you'd get everybody.
That would have been
As-
great. We were all
As I
pace.
have Racing Reference pulled up right here.
I thought I was honestly going to accuse Britt of cheating here if he would have clean sheeted the list.
I was just guess. You said we knew the names, so I just started throwing names out there.
I knew Todd Bodine was going to be the toughest, and Wes was a first name away.
I knew it was a Bodine. I really thought it was Jeff because he won. I think he won in '94, but obviously I thought he won another late pole in the 7, but nope. No Todd.
Well, I had a lot of fun this week. It's time for Watkins Glen, one of the more exciting road courses over the years. I hope everyone enjoys the racing this week. We're going to come back next week and break it all down and somehow predict Daytona in some way or shape or form. I'm sure we'll be celebrating a Chase Elliott win into the playoffs for next week. That's just what Steve's going to want. He'll have the party favors and everything if that happens.
Mm-hmm.
Pizza
right,
party on
playoff
Steve
party.
next week.
Yep.
Well, also, don't forget, follow us on Twitter at Forward and Field Podcast. We have hit 500 followers on Twitter /X, wherever you want to call it nowadays. We're moving forward. Can't wait to keep going with you guys. I'm happy. Our socials will be dropped here in the video and in the description. For Britt, Steve, Wes, I'm Dom. We'll see you next week and enjoy the races.